I'm Barbara. Welcome to Mess to Yes. Today we're going to make a mid-century ottoman that was inspired by some fantastic legs I found at my local Habitat thrift store. I find lots of great stuff there. These didn't look like this when I found them though. They were $1 a piece in like the clearance section because they were even marked down 50% from their original price. They were this hideous avocado green, and someone had painted the entire thing, including the metallic feet, the same hideous avocado green. Here's a tip. You cannot change the style of your furniture by covering it with paint. You can change a lot about the look, but not the actual style. Your colonial dining room sideboard is never gonna look mid-century if you paint it black and gold. And your mid-century leg is never going to look anything else if you cover it with ugly paint. Just something to remember for the future. So, first thing I did when I got these home was washed them, sanded the legs a little bit, and then this is a solution of simple green because it's not toxic, but I soaked the legs, I stood them up in this overnight. And then you can take it out and use a toothbrush or whatever you want to use, a rag, and you can see that the paint just literally falls right off the leg. So get that completely off, polish it up, then you're going to wrap it in tape, painter's tape, the metallic part, and I used a combined primer and gloss spray because I like that shiny mid-century look. And we got our fantastic leg. One of the other secrets of making this mid-century look stand out is using an angled top plate so that when it connects to the piece of furniture, the leg's going to come out at this angle instead of being straight up and down and a little less interesting. But we'll get to that when we attach these to the base of the ottoman. Note, these are only available in my area anyway, at Lowe's. I went to Home Depot, was not able to find the angled plates. Wasn't even able to find the regular straight ones, only big old ugly heavy duty ones. So Lowe's for that, and Lowe's for this pre-cut circular wood base for our ottoman. Now you could buy a whole piece of plywood for $15.55, I think was the cheapest one here, and this was $17. They're not going to cut a circle for you in the aisle of your local hardware store. So, I treated myself to $1.30 and saved myself having to cut it out. I have a lot of projects going on this year, 52 projects in 52 weeks to be exact. So I could have used the plywood, but I thought we'd do a project that didn't involve a saw for a change. I painted one side of it black so that the underside matches with the legs. Then we are going to attach to the top some foam and some great fabric. Now, this leg that was green inspired the project. The shape of it sent me to the hardware store to find a fabric that would work with a mid-century look. The colors in the fabric inspired how I painted the leg. So you have to think about each step of the process and make sure you have something that really goes well together. You can buy mid-century legs online. You can also just go to your local hardware store and get something with a different style. If your house is farmhouse country or whatever, you can use this same idea with any leg you can find. Once you have your legs underway, painting and drying, the next step is to deal with the top. Like I said, you paint the underside black, and then we're going to attach our foam rubber. Clearly, not enough foam rubber to cover my board. That's because the price of foam rubber is attached to the price of oil and gasoline. It's a petroleum-based product. So it can be super, super expensive. And with my $52 budget, I have to count every penny. So I went to the remnant bin in my home decor section. They always have it, and the ends of every big piece are in some corner somewhere, or you can ask about them. Sometimes if you go to your local upholsterers, I use an upholsterer for my design business that sometimes they have them just laying around and they'll let me have them. You could ask at any upholstery in your area if they'll give you scraps or sell you scraps. It's a good way to get this project done on a budget. So I am going to take this wood outside because you don't want to use spray adhesive inside. Coat the whole board with the spray adhesive. Let it set up because that's what the directions on my say. Follow the directions on your can. Then I'm going to go through and just cut and attach strips of this until the whole thing is covered. Then I'll bring it back and I'll show you the next part. So once your foam is adhered to your board, you're going to go around with the foam on the other side and just use a Sharpie marker so that you know exactly where to cut your foam. Now mine's already attached and yours should be too. So I'm just going to cut it in place. But if you're going to go whole hog and go to a foam and rubber store, which believe it or not they exist for upholstery purposes, car interiors, whatever, there's stores that sell nothing but foam rubber. Take your piece of wood and have them cut you a nice perfect circle. If you're paying that premium, get the premium service. But, and if you have an electric carving knife, that's the kind of tool they use. It goes all the way around just like butter. I have scissors, but luckily for me, foam rubber compresses down and I can cut it with an ordinary pair of scissors. Just pull away the extra as you go and it makes it easier to get a smooth cut. Now my edges are going to be slightly jagged because I am cutting this with a regular pair of scissors. But as long as your fabric is upholstery weight, you won't see that. If you're making something that's a different style, not trying to be kind of sleek and simple like a mid-century piece would be, you could add some batting. It just makes it a little poofier, and I don't want poofy in my piece, so I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. But that would hide any of these imperfections in your foam. But as long as you have a thick fabric, they're really not going to show. So next, let me show you how to attach the fabric. So to cover my 24-inch round board, I bought exactly 1 yard of fabric. That gives me a 6-inch margin all the way around. So I took my measuring tape and just went around with a Sharpie and marked a circle 6 inches out all the way around, cut it, and now I'm ready to start attaching it. Because I'm not putting a screen film, which they put on the bottom of a lot of upholstered pieces to cover any staples, interior workings, this is just solid wood, I'm going to actually fold over my edge so that it looks a little nicer if you happen to see the bottom side. Who really cares? I care. I have obsessive compulsive disorder. What can I do about it? Nothing. All right, so round and curved shapes are a little bit more difficult to upholster, but they all start out the same way. You would use this same method using the bottom of a dining room chair. Start in this middle of one side, put in 1 staple, then go to the middle of the other side, lift it up to make sure you don't have any wrinkles, pull it taut, but don't pull it too tight because you don't want to skew your whole design. Now, clearly I didn't center this exactly right, so I put it there. Center it just opposite. Then do the same thing 90 degrees apart from that. Do both sides. Pull it tight, taut, but not tight, I should say. Then after you have the 4 sides, flip it over. Make sure you don't have any wrinkles. That looks perfect. So now we're going to come in and we're going to have to put a lot of staples between these in order to make these curves turn out smoothly. So let me show you how to do that. So the secret to upholstering a curved piece of furniture or whatever it is you're making is to keep any wrinkles and lumps on the bottom side, not the side side. So in order to do that, you're going to put in a lot of staples. So I'm going to go up a couple inches, put one in. Then you can see I have a bump. And if I didn't put more staples here, the side would become wrinkled. So I'm going to flatten it out here, pull it tight away from the edge, and put like 3 more staples between those 2 staples. Maybe that's overkill by 1 staple, but you really have to keep it that tight. Do the same thing all the way around, and then all that's going to be left is to attach the legs. So now that your top is completely upholstered, you're going to go back to your back side to add the plates to finish the legs. I measured 24 inches, put a mark at 12, did the same thing the other direction so I have the exact center. And then I just took a piece of wood and drew lines straight across both directions so that I would know that my legs are equal distant from each other. Then the way I determined how far they should be from the edge is because these are angled, they're going to lean. So I just put this straight up and down because you do not want your legs to stick out further. People will trip over it. And you don't want them to be too far in from the edge because then it'll look and be a little bit unstable. So I determined that I liked it about 1 inch from the edge, and that was 8 1/4 inches from my center. So I marked 8 1/4 inches in every direction along each line, and now I'm just simply going to drill those into place and we will be finished. So I've determined that on the back edge, the screws that they've included are just barely long enough to bite into the wood. So I went ahead and grabbed a taller screw out of my collection just to make sure that we anchor these safely. So now that all of the screw plates are in place, all we have to do is attach our legs, and they are universal sizes. When you go to the hardware store, there is angled or straight. They don't come in different sizes. But for all that kind of information, be sure to go over and subscribe at our blog. You'll find the link in the description below. Every week we post the information, the product list, the materials that you're going to need to do to complete these projects, the little secrets that maybe I forgot to mention here. So be sure to subscribe here and go over and subscribe on the blog. Now let me get the rest of these legs in place and let's see the finished product. At 15 inches, our ottoman is the perfect height to serve as a coffee table or a place to rest your feet. Don't forget you can make this in any style by changing the style of the legs. You can make the foam taller at the top or make it very sleek. Choose a style that works perfectly in your home and it'll be a fantastic addition.